In a recent video, I talked about practicing for an additional session for each lesson that you take with a coach. But I got some questions about the types of figure skating sessions. Public sessions, freestyle sessions, what's the difference? And how do you know what kind of ice session you should skate on to practice your figure skating? In today's video, I will discuss the different kinds of sessions that most ice rinks offer and what they are. I'll go over the rules for each type of session so that you know what to expect when you go to practice. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I'm a PSA ranked and rated figure skating coach. I'm also an ISSA certified elite trainer and precision nutrition certified nutrition coach. I help skaters, athletes, their families, and sometimes even other coaches optimize their training so they can actually get results and meet or even exceed their goals. So let's dive right in and we'll start with public sessions. Public ice skating sessions are times designated to the general public, and they're generally less expensive too. In my area, public sessions average around $10 for 1 to 2 hours. But this can vary pretty widely, so be sure to check with your local rink and find out what the cost is. Sessions that are 2 hours generally have an ice cut halfway through. This is when the Zamboni goes out to resurface the ice. Most rinks will have these public sessions daily and fixed times that rarely, if ever, change. Although some rinks do vary the schedule more than others. So again, definitely check with your rink here. Typically, public sessions will have all skaters going in the same direction, usually counterclockwise. Although some rinks do change the direction to clockwise after the ice cut, if they have one. This helps keep the ice even and allow skaters to practice in the other direction. Generally, public skating sessions have rules such as things that include no roughness, no excessive speeding or weaving through skaters, no tag, or games of any kind or races are usually not permitted at public skating sessions. Generally, no more than 2 people may skate together holding hands. And absolutely no one, and this is true pretty much of every rink everywhere, no one is ever permitted on the ice without ice skates. Skaters usually are expected to keep moving when they're on the ice as well. And I think obviously no eating or drinking is permitted during public sessions on the ice. And skaters are not really allowed to carry children or secondary items such as cameras or handbags while skating. Some rinks also do not allow figure skating on public sessions. They don't allow backward skating, jumps, or spins during public sessions, unless they have a designated area for this. Let's talk about that designated area. It's often center ice and they cone it off, but some rinks only allow private lessons to take place in that designated area. So again, check with your rink and find out what their specific rules are. What are public sessions generally suitable for? In general, beginner level, up to say basic 2 or 3, as well as skaters of any level that are practicing their forward stroking. This is true of both hockey and figure, by the way. And skaters that are in a private lesson with their coach are also allowed to practice on public sessions. Should be noted that some rinks do offer nighttime public skating sessions. They sometimes have a DJ, dim the lights, and some rinks even have disco lights. These nighttime sessions are not appropriate for practicing figure skating or taking a private lesson. Most rinks don't even allow lessons on those types of sessions. You're probably asking, so then when can you practice backward skating? Turns, transitions, dance patterns. What about jumps and spins? These are best practiced on freestyle sessions. Skating on freestyle ice is a wonderful way to practice and accomplish your skating goals. Most rinks will offer these early in the morning, before work or school, and after school or in the evening as well. Of course, they're generally offered at other times too, and weekends as well. Depending on the rink, there may be different options. Some rinks, but not all, offer different kinds of freestyle sessions, which can include low-level sessions for beginners, typically up to the preliminary levels, dance sessions, a moves in the field only session, and high freestyle sessions for skaters that are above pre-preliminary. You might also hear or see club sessions. These are freestyle sessions that are sponsored by the local figure skating club. You usually have to be a member of the club and sign up for a subscription to these sessions. But again, this varies, so be sure to check with your local rink or club. Some rinks even have adult sessions. where adult skaters can practice without having to worry about younger skaters on the ice. Not all rinks offer all these different kinds of sessions though. Some will provide only general freestyle sessions for skaters of all levels to practice. They're free skating, moves in the field, and dance patterns. However, if your rink does designate different sessions for different purposes or different levels, be sure to adhere to their rules. So let's generally discuss these freestyle sessions. Freestyle sessions are typically more expensive than public skating sessions. In my area, pricing ranges from $15 an hour to $30 for a session. But again, check with your rink, because pricing can vary depending upon the local area. Some rinks will offer cards or coupon books that you can purchase a package of sessions at a discounted rate. Again, check with your rink if you're looking to save some money and ask them what they offer. Who doesn't want to save some money? There is also an expectation that you will have your own skates. But if you've passed Basic 2 and are working on the skills for Basic 3, or above, you should probably have your own skates by now anyway. Make sure that you visit a professional skate shop and get fitted by a tech for your skates. In my area, I always recommend Greg at Polar Skate Shop. He's my go-to guy. And I know some of you have gone to him. He's in East Hanover. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you've gone to Greg and what your experience was. But if you're in another area outside of New Jersey, check with your coach or the rink skating director for a referral to a good skate tech. Depending upon the rink and the level of skaters on the session, freestyle sessions can be intimidating for a beginner. The best advice I can give you is that skaters looking to practice on a freestyle session should start by scheduling a lesson on the session with a PSA ranked and rated coach. Your coach is responsible for teaching you proper ice etiquette and making sure you understand and follow all the rules, the traffic patterns too. And a good coach will sort of act as your bodyguard if the session is particularly busy or has a lot of higher level skaters training on the session. Although it's called a freestyle session, most ice rinks have guidelines, rules, or traffic patterns that you're expected to follow to help everyone have a safe and productive session. So freestyle does not mean that anything goes. These rules can and often do vary depending upon the rink. Remember to always check with your rink and adhere to any rules or guidelines that they have. Let's go over some general rules though, so that you'll have a good idea of what to expect. Most of the information that I'm providing you with today is suggested by US Figure Skating and is generally accepted as proper etiquette within the sport. So it's a good idea to follow these guidelines that I'm providing you with today. Additionally, US Figure Skating also provides rinks and clubs with a suggested parent code of conduct. Some rinks, clubs, or coaches will require parents to sign a version of this. So just be aware that that is something that could happen. The golden rule for skating on freestyle ice sessions is to always be respectfully aware of other skaters on the session. What that means is you should always respect the rights of others, rink property, and other people's property. Coaches, skaters, and parents should always be civil and courteous to everyone that they encounter and exercise good judgment and good sportsmanship. You should always act in a manner that avoids any verbal abuse and definitely never any physical abuse. No one should ever harass or intimidate another skater, a coach, a parent, organization, or staff. Now I know this probably seems obvious to a lot of you, but believe me, things happen, so we have to say this anyway. As I've already said, always follow the rules of your rink and find out how they'd like you to register for sessions. Some rinks do require you to register in advance online for any session that you plan on skating on. And in addition, lessons and ice time should be paid for before you get on the ice. Now, some rinks do require that you pay them on behalf of the coach, and that's fine. Just make sure you pay when you come in and not as you're leaving. Always pay before the session, no matter how the payment is rendered. Of course, all this is unless your coach or your rink has a different rule. Most rinks also require skaters to check in when they arrive, either by signing in or using an iPad at the front desk before they get on the ice. Skaters should always dress in appropriate attire for their skating practice. What that means is that skaters should be in appropriately sized clothes And some rinks are very specific about what skaters need to wear. For example, some rinks do specify that skaters can only wear black. And I even know of a rink that discourages hoodies. Other rinks will allow you to wear whatever you're comfortable with. But skaters will feel much more comfortable if they're wearing clothing that's similar to what the other skaters are wearing. And coaches prefer that clothing is appropriately sized, not too baggy or too tight, but close-fitting, so that we can observe a skater's body lines, particularly posture and knee bend. Hair should always be clean and neat and up away from the face. Some rinks require hair to be in a bun. I've seen that. But hair flying around is pretty distracting to the skater as well as to others on the ice. I recall a time when a coach pulled their skater aside to talk to them about their hair, because their hair was always a little disheveled. And she had the skater look out on the ice and tell her what she saw with the other skaters with their hair. And I thought that was a really great way to go about it. But if your rink doesn't have any rules about hair, it's always appropriate to keep it tied back. No breakable containers are allowed on the ice, so if you bring water, make sure it's in a plastic or aluminum bottle. And only water can be brought out on the ice. Some rinks do not allow you to bring any colored beverages on the ice in case of a spill. All trash, like used tissues or plastic water bottles, should be placed in the appropriate trash or recycling bin before, during, and after the session. So if you're using tissues, don't leave them on the boards, especially now. It's yucky and gross. Most rinks don't allow skaters to coach each other either. And many rinks don't allow virtual lessons. These are lessons by Zoom, Skype, or FaceTime. So if you plan on doing any virtual lessons, definitely check with your rink and find out if it's allowed first. Most rinks don't allow you to take photos or videos of the session without permission, and most rinks don't allow skaters to wear earbuds. They inhibit your awareness of everything that's going on around you. And even if your rink allows them, I discourage them. I don't let my skaters skate with earbuds because I feel like it's just too dangerous. Parents and other spectators should not stand by the ice rink doors, the boards, or the hockey team boxes. This can be really distracting to the skaters on the ice and can be unsafe because it interferes with athletic training and development. Parents shouldn't try to sideline coach or yell to their skaters from off ice to the ice. And most rinks just prohibit that kind of behavior at all. If it's necessary for a skater to talk with somebody off the ice, the skater is expected to leave the ice to do that. Conversations just shouldn't be conducted through doorways or plexiglass under any circumstances. I've witnessed moms or dads giving their skaters directions from the glass or the boards, and sometimes even arguing with their skater right through the plexiglass. And it's disruptive to everyone on the ice. So just don't do that. What I suggest instead is using a binder or a folder with worksheets that the skater can keep track of their progress and what they're supposed to be practicing while on the ice. This way they don't have to leave the ice to go ask a parent what to do or stand in the doorway for directions from a parent or interrupt their coach while that coach is in a lesson with another skater. That's just not appropriate, and a skater should never do that. Anyway, I have some really great worksheets that I've put together over the years, and they're part of my figure skating planner that you can purchase. These will help your skaters stay on track for the season and for every practice too. They'll know exactly what they need to be working on that practice session to meet or exceed their goals. There's a link to my skating planner in the description down below, or you can just go to skatewithaimee.com. It's right at the top of the page. And if you use promo code YouTube, you can save some money. So be sure to use that code soon, because there's only so many of those available. But definitely use promo code YouTube and save some money. Now, skaters in the program, this is when they're practicing to their music. Those skaters have the right of way. At some rinks, the skater in a program will actually wear a sash or a belt or a vest to designate that they're in their program. At other rinks, you just have to figure out who is skating to their music, but they have the first priority of right of way in most rinks. So if that's you and you're skating to your program, always be ready when your music begins. If you're unprepared and have to restart the music, It can be really frustrating to everybody else on the session. Second priority for right away goes to skaters that are in a lesson with a coach. Sometimes when a session is heavily attended, not everyone will get a chance to play their music, so be understanding when that happens. It's just simply due to lack of time. Experienced skaters should always be patient with less experienced skaters. Always remember, you were once new too, and you probably looked up to the more experienced skaters. All skaters should always feel welcome and encouraged on a freestyle session. And be understanding that sometimes skaters and sometimes even coaches may get in each other's way. Just be understanding, no one's doing it on purpose. Just remember to look both ways when leaving the boards or skating across the ice. Always keep moving on the ice. It's especially important to never just stop in the middle of the ice without warning, or any of the jumping corners either. If a skater or coach needs to get another skater's attention, saying something like, "Excuse me," can go a long way. Just don't shout, "Move! Watch out! Coming through!" It's important for everybody's safety that all skaters stay aware of other skaters on the ice. Try to always anticipate the patterns of others as you decide where you will skate. If you're a less experienced skater, be extra careful to be aware of others and to always keep your head up and look where you're going. Sometimes beginner skaters will look down at the ice, and that doesn't help anyone. If you're an experienced skater, be patient with those that are less experienced. Always remember that you were new at one point too. And when you're passing slower skaters traveling in the same direction, always pass to the outside of the skater. When skating towards another skater, and when in doubt, skate to the right. Spins are usually best practiced in the center, unless you're part of a program, but that's a different story. Standstill jumps are best practiced on the goal lines in the corners opposite the Lutz corner. Edge jumps are practiced just outside center ice. These are general rules. Note that a skater's choreography may have spins and jumps located in other places. Practicing the Lutz presents particular safety issues. So try to be especially aware of your surroundings when you're in the Lutz corners. Remember, the approach to the Lutz is long and blind. So the skater going into the Lutz is not likely going to see you. And remember, skaters jump and spin in either direction. I'm one of those, what we call a lefty skater, which means I jump clockwise instead of counterclockwise. So I always feel like I'm swimming upstream. Take note of skaters that jump and spin clockwise and be particularly mindful of both Lutz corners. Skaters like me that skate in the opposite direction are the minority, and we have a harder time getting our elements in on a session because of that. Be mindful of those of us that skate in the other direction. Dance and moves in the field patterns. Utilize the perimeter of the ice. These patterns vary, and depending upon the level of the skater, they may fully utilize every part of the ice. Now, if you're on a synchro team, note that synchronized skating and attaching in lines is usually prohibited on general freestyle sessions. Check with your rink. Also, if you're a hockey player taking lessons from a figure skating coach, which happens, I actually coach a lot of hockey skaters for their power skating, but wearing full equipment and sticks and pucks are just not allowed on freestyle sessions. Of course, there are also some things that no one should ever do on any session. And most of these things, again, should go without saying, but unfortunately, I've seen them happen. Deliberately challenging, scaring, or intentionally blocking another skater, don't do that. Never be verbally abusive to anyone, whether they're a skater or a coach. No screaming on the ice, don't curse, and don't use profanity. Getting too close to another skater, that's what we call buzzing. Respect a safe distance. There's no laying on the ice or kicking the ice. And younger skaters sometimes do this because they don't know that they shouldn't. But laying on the ice, you could get run over, and kicking the ice damages the ice, so another skater may trip and fall. So just don't do that. And videotaping anyone other than your skater is just not okay. If you're gonna take some video of your skater, just be very mindful to get no one else in that video. Most rinks also have rules about getting in line or queuing for music, and these rules vary so much that I'm not going to go into it today. But just find out what the rules are and make sure you adhere to them. I hope your takeaway above all is if you're a less experienced skater, be extra careful and stay aware of other skaters. Always look where you're going, not down at the ice. And if you're an experienced skater, be patient with those that are less experienced. Remember, you were new to freestyle sessions once too. Always be understanding if someone gets in your way. They're probably not doing it intentionally. Placing your elements in consistent locations is the key to safe and productive practice sessions. If your rink has a diagram of what to practice where, be sure to stick with those rules. By learning these patterns, skaters will probably feel comfortable practicing on any ice rink. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you think it could help someone else out, share it with them and share it on your social media too. And remember, I post at least 3 videos a week and you don't want to miss any of them. So hit that subscribe button and tap the bell right next to it so you never miss a video. This is Aimée. Happy skating. I will see you real soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.